A match begins, where everyone is very excited, especially the women because their handsome partner named Igarashi Yusuke, who with his talent, is winning the match, has a friendly interaction with his friend Nanashima Zumo that is observed by our protagonist Sirainuma Kei, who is secretly a Fuyoshi. That interaction was enough for him to imagine a very suggestive scenario between the two of them. The pair of princes, therefore, being immersed in his thoughts, he does not realize when Nana approaches him to be able to save the ball and he uses her as a cushion practically because he didn't see her, hurting us. She falls awake in the infirmary with a very worried Nakano Amane at her side, who is her best friend with whom she shares many tastes in common, such as a taste for things already today. They are both extremely Fuyoshis, the kind that can't see two handsome boys together sharing friendship because it immediately pairs them with a homosexual relationship. They momentarily talk about the cute couple that Igarashi and Nana make until they are interrupted by Shinomiya Hayato as he was getting her out of bed because someone else was feeling very bad and he needed the stretcher. He is quite rough with Kei, but she doesn't care and afterward she talks to Amane about what she said. So Shinomiya returns to his classroom and meets Asuma Mutsumi, the leader of the history club, who falls belongs. She even worries about the blow that she received when she enters the room. A worried Gashi approaches Kei and then obliges Anshima to apologize to her even though he didn't want to. She even thanks him for her fat body who served as a human mattress, did not receive any damage, making the entire class laugh. Yet the protagonist is not affected by her comments. She is already more interested in seeing the relationship between Igarashi and Nan, the two handsome princes. When classes end, their best friend and she each return to their respective home quite excited because today the chapter of the series that they watch is being released, a series whose character who looks like Nanashima is murdered. Ending the chapter of the series, it falls that he is tweeting with everything in the chapter. It is a terrible shock because her favorite character has just died so much that she burst into tears and screamed so loud that she woke up everyone in her house. The protagonist plunges into a deep depression, missing a whole week of classes where she didn't eat absolutely nothing in his house. His mother, worried about this situation, asks her eldest son, Takaro, for help. He had no choice but to knock down the door to enter Kei's room. He struggles with the sheet where she is hidden. He falls and refuses to eat and even bathe, but in the end when they refute her sheet she has no choice but to agree. Although when she is seen by her mother and brother they are shocked, Kai goes to the bathroom to shower. When she is taking off her clothes in front of the mirror she is amazed to see her reflection, even believes that what she is seeing is a poster but in fact it is her reflection. Everyone in her house is amazed. The protagonist had to fix her uniform because it was too big for her and that is how she attended classes. Her presence caught everyone's attention. When she sees such a pretty girl, when she arrives at the salon, the first thing she does is see her best friend, to whom she runs almost in tears because of what happened in the episode of her favorite series since they couldn't contact each other or anything because she broke up her phone in her moment of shock. Her best friend at first did not recognize her, but when she heard her voice she knew who she was. Her colleagues obviously also came over to question her about how she had lost weight so quickly since they were quite amazed by the radical physical change that she suffered in just a week, and Gashi grabs her to separate her from the group of people who are bromanding her, and Gashi feels amazed by Kei's beauty, something that also affects Nanashima, who at times disconnected from her world until she reacted and approached him. Kei not only to wash his physique but to remind him that before he was a ball of bait. Kei when seeing him can't hold back his tears and runs away from the room, but really the protagonist was not affected by his comment, but because Nanashima's physique is very similar to the protagonist of the series that she watched and died while running through the corridors. She ran into Shinomiya, who at first reacts as everyone would normally do, in a bad mood. Although upon realizing the physique of the girl who still does not recognize, her attitude softens and he even looks worried about the protagonist who had scraped her knees when she fell, so he takes her to the infirmary to tend to that small wound. He finds Matsumi, who was holding out her arm that had been scratched by a cat who tried to help. He is the only one who recognized Kei despite her radical physical change, calling her by her first name in front of Shinomiya, who only now realizes that she is Kei. Kei feels relieved because she thought she had changed something, although in reality she didn't change anything. According to Matsumi, it is emphasized that she is still just as kind as she has always been, or at least she thought she hadn't changed anything because suddenly now Nanashima, Shinomiya, Gashi, and Matsumi can't get away from her and ask her on a date to go to the movies. She agreed, so she went to her best friend to ask her for some clothes and advice. Amane considers the situation similar to an otome game, which Kei really wishes would happen, since she is used to living in the 2D world and does not know how to react in the 3D world. This strange situation, where now the focus of many people's attention is quite hazy because she is not used to receiving attention like Main hides from her boyfriend, who is an otaku, suggests to the protagonist that she should also be the same to avoid scaring away her dates. She attends her date and they proceed to enter the cinema to see a movie that really did not interest the protagonist, who was there more attentive than any interaction. The boys had to be able to match them in their fantasies in a moment. Gashi separates her from the group to be alone in a photo booth. Although he quickly found her by Nana, who claims to know how her friend's mind works, which Kei's mind was triggered, the protagonist tried to have a normal date with them without her otaku side coming out. But at one point it was quite difficult for her and it was impossible for her to contain it when she saw that they were selling a limited edition of her favorite series and she was left in evidence. She feels ashamed because she thought that they would no longer want to go out with her, but Mitsumi encourages her by telling her that it is okay to have hobbies and that is how they prefer her because her eyes shine much brighter. Next time they will go out wherever she wants. The protagonist, thanks to the fun date he had with the 4 boys, he buys them each a keychain of their favorite character and Gashi uses it, something that surprises Nana, who doesn't like those anime things. Gashi and Nana arrive at the court where Kei is playing very well since she is very skilled in sports even before she lost weight. A group of girls asks the protagonist for a favor to replace one of their soccer members since she injured her leg. Kei agrees without thinking because according to her she knows a lot about soccer although she has only seen it in sports anime. But in reality, she is quite new at it, so she asked Igarashi for help, but when she remembers that she has practice after class she suggests that Nana better teach her. But he decides not to do it. She still insists to practice, but the stretches and exercises are quite hard for her who does not have much physical resistance, and when Gashi sees her he compares her to a newborn servant because of how shaky the protagonist is. She continues to make an effort, although there really does not seem to be any progress. Even the boys who he asked him for a favor, they told him that it doesn't seem very useful, a conversation that Nana heard and even defended Kei himself. They said to do a training session where he is and he observes how the ball for some reason always comes back to him in a curve. So he finally changes his mind and plans to help her. The day of the game arrives and the truth is that the group of girls does not see her well, but the protagonist makes her move and with that rare skill she manages to score the ball. Nanashima, who was planning to give up on her because he did not like the idea of being with someone who watches anime and stuff, she realizes how funny and special she is. She was already planning things for the summer because it was coming up, but her teacher tells her that if she gets to try the next exam, she will have to attend for 2 weeks of her vacation to make up her grades. Mutsumi offers to help her study and immediately the other boys also want him to help them. Not because they want to study but because they don't want to leave Kae alone with Mutsumi. They go to the library, but due to a conflict between Shinomiya and Nanashima, they make so much noise that they are kicked out. So they don't know where else to go to study, and Gashi suggests going to Kai's house to study, to which she has no reply. But she has to clean up all the mess from their room, where there are a lot of mangas, and most of them are from today, scattered throughout the room. When they arrive, they continue studying. Until the mother of the protagonist enters the room, causing her to immediately hide it because her mother got excited. Seeing that their daughter was finally bringing boys home, they took advantage of the situation to be able to explore her room a little, finding a lot of merchandise from Kei's favorite character, who later even showed them the altar that he had prepared for her. Mutsumi approaches to give his condolences, and the other boys follow them to earn points with Kei. Her mother tells her other son that Kei has guests in her room. He runs to her room to warn the 4 boys about how clumsy she is, but they aren't affected because they already know. So still insistent, she decides to show him the closet where she hid all her sleeves. Even today, despite that, they don't look quite surprised, and even Mutsumi very kindly kicks the boy out of the room after he finishes studying. Mutsumi gives her a leaf to give her good luck and also to others so that she has good luck. The protagonist is debating what ideas to take for the cultural festival. The boys propose a maid cafe to see the girls wearing K-maid outfits. He agrees only if the boys also dress up, and in the end, that is decided. At lunchtime, the 5 of them meet to talk about it. Their Shinomiya, who being younger than them, is in a different class, trusts them that it will be a work of theater at her festival where he will be the princess. Here she is excited and asks her to allow her to be her producer because she wants to make her a very pretty princess. Besides, she is also going to be in charge of designing the costumes for Garashi and Nanashima. The protagonist is debating what ideas to take for the cultural festival. Then everyone is summoned by CAE to the room where everything is being organized to take her measurements, and Gashi almost has a slip with her but was interrupted by Shinomiya, who feels embarrassed since he thought that Kei didn't see him as a man, but he lets her know that yes, he also has a slip with her. But Nanashima intervenes with a measuring tape. The days go by, and Kei prepares the costumes, something that seems to be a little overwhelming for her, so the boys offer to help her. But at the same time, they go with Mutsumi to help him at Kei's request, and so she continues making the costumes, something that leaves Gashi reflective, and even though he did that for her, he was not with them. The day of the festival arrives, and she was able to finish all the costumes successfully. She even made her a best friend from Shingeki no Kyojin, and Gashi too. She wears a suit like that, and Nanashima wears the clothes that Kei's favorite character wore. Back home, they talk about attending Shinomiya's play. Kei offers that they tour the festival together, and everyone less agrees with Igarashi, who confesses that he is not interested in pretending to be friends with those who are his love rivals, making Shinomiya and Nana reconsider, who did not want to be friends either. Kei just wants to enjoy the festival, but since she doesn't know how to solve anything, Mutsumi intervenes, and she believes that he will say something sensible. But rather she suggests creating a second line to share the day with her. That day she advanced in that way. The first to have a turn was Nanashima, who takes advantage of his moment to have some closeness with her in the most intimate way but is precisely interrupted by Mutsumi. They had agreed that they would respect the hours, and neither would intervene in the other's time of theater, saying "Mile there." He has a moment of solitude where he can move forward with Kei without any problem. At the end of the play, and as time continues with his day, now it is with Shinomiya that he takes her to a horror house because he wants to show her that he is a true man who is not scared by anything. But it doesn't go the way he wants, and he is really the one who scares the most. With everything in the House of Terror, one of his scares was so strong that he accidentally falls right on the chest of the protagonist, who for shame leaves there terribly scared to meet her best friend and tell her everything that happened that day. Kei was used to being a spectator and not a protagonist, so she doesn't know how to deal with this kind of thing. Besides, she liked it, be together and have a good time, not now where they fight to advance in the relationship they have with her. She leaves the group and doesn't know whether to return to them because she is very overwhelmed by all the emotions, but a group of boys appears and tries to intimidate her. She defends herself, but in the end, she has to run away and is saved by the other boys who are after her and tries to get them to stop trying to achieve this. Finally, she talks to them to explain how she feels about all of this, being thrown against the wall or being beaten up, eating in the mouth, holding hands, and such intimate closeness are things that she doesn't know how to react to, and the boys internally think that they should be more attentive with their rivals except for Mutsumi, who doesn't care, The boys recognize their mistake in being too hasty with her, so they will return to their way of being together and living together that way. While they are in the cafeteria, they talk about what they could do on Christmas Eve, but everyone suggests a different plan. However, I had already decided that day I was going to use it to go to the comiquette that was held precisely that day. The boys, to celebrate the day with her, decided to accompany her. In that way they will be able to celebrate with what is left of the rest of the day together. When the day arrives, it falls at 5 in the morning because they have to arrive early or else there will be no magazines to see. They have to stand in a very long line to enter the event, and finally to achieve it, they are very exhausted. They had to help the protagonist to buy all the mangas and light novels that she wanted, and most of them were from today. The group of boys who were divided into pairs to complete K's order are victims of the morbid fantasies of most of the girls out there. K finished collecting her manga loot, so she goes to the place that had been scheduled to meet everyone at that moment. Suddenly a strange and perverted man starts taking photos of her, although she was refusing, and is helped by a cosplayer dressed as Sebastian from Kurositsuji, who manages to make the man leave. Then her friends arrive who had been lost because of how big the place was. The cosplayer who helped her later leaves the place, making slightly mocking comments towards her friends, the boys, who are exhausted by everything they did that day. At the end, when they were going to celebrate with her, they were totally exhausted. Back to school, she tells everything to her best friend, even about how she found a cosplayer dressed as Sebastian, being amazed when she realizes that the person she saw that day is a student from her school, and not only that, she is of a lower grade, and on top of that she is a woman. A girl named Shimani Sheena Falls takes her with the group to introduce her. Then they also realize that it was the boy they saw before, that it is really a girl who took very good with K. They don't see her as a potential rival until they see how popular she is with the girls. They even feel a little defeated because she has more female interaction on a day. Shima invites K to his house to spend time together, and they immediately intervene to also go to what Shima has no problems as long as they do her a favor that she will tell them later when they go to her house. It is an immense mansion that even has servants because she is a girl who has a very good financially. She gives them a tour of her house. Fascinating CAE, gradually gaining everyone's affection or something like that because they respect her but are intimidated by the fact that she does so many things like writing, drawing. She is pretty and she even has money. Shishima takes advantage and asks them to please be her models. Then CAE approaches her and we realize that everything was a plan by Fujo's Shishima, who wanted to match the handsome boys. On one occasion, CAE and Shima get very close. Shishima then takes advantage to steal a kiss from the protagonist, who is deeply shocked since it was her first kiss. Shima formally declares that they must take her seriously because she is a rival and they will surely lose if they underestimate her. Our protagonist is watching the notice for the next chapter of one of her series already today favorites. And then remembers what happened with Shima, that it is revealed to us that in reality she is not a rival and is only joking with the boys. At least that makes them believe it. Kay finds a Valentine's Day contest that catches her attention because the prize for this event is a drawing of one of her favorite artists. When she is in class explaining that to Nana, Shima arrives. Although Nana tries to prevent her from getting close to CAE, although she is prevented from talking to the protagonist since she also found out about the Valentine's Day event, and proposes that she make chocolate together so that her suitors are calmer, and also invites them to accompany them when they arrive at Shima's house. They prepare to make the chocolate, but the result they had falls does not please them enough, so he eats his own creation. They must do something that stands out because he will have a lot of competition. In this way, Shima suggests that they do something 3D. The others start doing what is indicated and falls. He tries to sculpt what he wants, but in each attempt he fails terribly. The only thing what he manages to do after 24 hours of work is a figure that others consider to be an avant-garde art. Shima makes a much better one, so they consider it appropriate that they send the one that ISO Shima instead of the one that falls in order to win the contest. But above all prognosis, in the end the protagonist decides to send the one she made because she remembered that it is a contest where feelings are valued and that chocolate was loaded with all the love that she already has for Shion, her favorite protagonist, who died. When she tells the others to, he gives them a chocolate that he already made for each of them, and Gashi meditates on something that Shima said at one point about how her tastes are only based on the physical. referring to CAE, and he considers that the beginning was like that, but as he has been getting to know her he is not very sure, but now he will check it because as there was a lot of chocolate left over he falls so as not to throw it away, he ate it all to return to his previous physique. Everyone is amazed because he is overweight again, so much is Nanashima's shock when he sees her that he loses consciousness. Something similar it happens to Shinomiya, so they are both taken to the infirmary. Nanashima is strongly determined to make him lose weight again because he likes his personality, but he doesn't like his physique when he is filled with a plan in which Shinomiya also agrees. As they neglected Kei, Shima takes the opportunity to feed her more because she thinks she is adorable and cute when she is this chubby. In addition, they are informed that the protagonist won the contest despite having presented a rather peculiar chocolate sculpture, something that highlights to us that what is important is not always the physique, but the feelings. Kei is invited to the awards ceremony where there will be many people who admire. Kei wants to get pretty to attend the event, so Nana took the opportunity to force her to exercise, which seems a bit extreme, and Garage Mutsumi, especially the latter, that did not change her perception of her at all, even though the protagonist does quite demanding amounts of exercises. She does not manage to lose weight, but she does look quite exhausted because of it. Shinami already decides to try another much more fun method, and in the style of falls everyone tries to accompany her. But in the process it falls. It's a pity that her hip falls. So they have to take her to the infirmary, and Shima, upon seeing her so exhausted, decides to confront Nanashima about the strict diet that he imposes on her, and that she should stop. Mutsumi intervenes, clarifying that whether her diet runs out or not. Kei's decision. The days following that, Shima spends all her time trying to attend to whatever she needs, to the point of overwhelming the protagonist, who did not know how to ask for space. And Garage then, before Shima arrives at his living room, he grabs the girl protagonist to take her to the roof of the institute because he noticed that she was feeling bad at this moment. When having a brief talk with her, he realizes that his kind, bright and hardworking attitude brings her much more than his physique, and Gashi confesses to Nanashima that he really is in love with CAE, perplexing Nanashima, who insists that she prefers CAE thinner. Our protagonist resumes her diet now with a new training plan created by Shinami, and Nanashima plans to motivate her with boys' love scenarios between the two of them because they know that she is for a Fuyoshi. This tactic works for her because she seems much more motivated and enthusiastic about meeting the goals as long as they do something as a couple. In the end, she manages to achieve the goal of falling. She wants to lose weight so she can look very pretty for the award ceremony. Thank you to the help of her companions, who sacrificed themselves by making many very compromising scenes between them. Now, for a strange reason, the protagonist ignores everyone, seems immersed in her thoughts when noticing her strange behavior. Obviously, the group decides to investigate what is happening to her, and she confesses that she found a special person who stirs her heart and distracts her mind. Everyone is quite astonished but calms down the moment she reveals that she is simply a 2D character called Akane from Kanchu Rambu, the same one you know Shima, since she is also a big fan of anime. And the protagonists, the four boys, unfortunately make the mistake of asking what they are talking about to more or less join the conversation, and they, quite excited, decide to explain everything in great detail. But first they are going to show them a video about the series in question. About the anime that is set in ancient times where Akane serves as armor for her lord himself. Video that triggers the hormones of the girls who are at their peak of fanger. At one point they argue with each other about who is the active and the passive in the relationship of the protagonists of the anime they are watching being on bad terms. It is obvious how their relationship broke up, and then C asks the boys that when giving context she states that they will surely not be friends again because that is a very serious debate for the girls. Fuyoshis like them. The four boys then plan a strategy to bring them back together since the two were very affected by not being together. They bring them together by inviting them to a store. As if it were a coincidence, they take the opportunity to bring them something to drink. There they confess that they have seen the anime and they like it a lot, so they talk a little about the topic until it comes up again. Who is the passive and active in the relationship? Both of them again disagree on that topic because neither of them agrees on the point of view of the relationship. Another Shima proposes that they make some works and upload them to the internet. The one with the most views wins. They both work hard, especially Falls, that she even looks a little haggard from staying up so late and straining her brain to create a novel. The boys still try to fix the situation by other means, but it is in vain. The day finally arrives when they publish the work and they wait until a certain time to see who has the most views. The winner ends up being Shima, who, taking advantage of her victory, forces her to admit that she is the loser, but this she cries and doesn't accept the result. So she runs out of the place, and when Garashi is alone with Shima, he emphasizes that she always told him that she likes pretty things, adding that it's not nice at all to make someone you like cry. Shima remembers when she met the protagonist for the first time. That was when Kei was overweight and she was just entering that institute. She met Kei because she crushed a student since he was arriving late. On another occasion, it was the manga convention where she met for the first time. Shima made her debut and wanted to find her, but he didn't recognize her because of her weight loss. So he focused more on his work as an independent Tora. Although when he found Cae again, he felt very happy because he considers her to be someone beautiful both inside and out. Shima knows that Falls is the most important thing he has in the world. It is really very absurd to lose her for something as casual as the argument they had. Then, he goes in search of the protagonist to reconcile. It is something that Falls, without hesitation, accepts because she really missed him. So, they come back in friendship. Soon, an anniversary will be organized for an ancient warrior that they used to be inspired by, the protagonist of Concho Rambu. Falls admires him like Shima. Both decide to attend what is practically a farewell ceremony for this character. Shima was going to take advantage of the fact that the others didn't like that kind of thing so she could travel alone with Kei. Although, because of Mutsumi's initiative, everyone else also wants to go. They are staying in a house that is not so luxurious, but it will be comfortable enough for them to like it. They even have hot springs where, at the time of bathing, there is some interaction between the men who bathe in an area separated from the women, drawing a lot of attention from the pair of girls who are imagining them doing quite suggestive things. Later, in the room they have to share, they play a board game to entertain themselves. After a while, this game escalates to a game of pillow fights in which they take winning very seriously. Igarashi had to dodge the attacks of the pillows and accidentally falls on the protagonist, thus being almost on the verge of kissing. The others except for Mutsumi immediately push him aside so they can begin to brutally attack him with the pillows until the old woman who owns the place scolds them to stay still and stop making so much noise. The next day they attend the ceremony, remaining quite like friends because thanks to that person they now have a great anime character that they love. Then, a historical museum and then a tomb of Zatora, although they stayed in all that for a long time. Then they go to eat. Mutsumi tells them the story of Zatora, the ancient warrior king. Later, after being told that his son had been murdered, he mercilessly killed everything that came in front of him until they cut off his head and, as the story goes, the head, laughing out loud, traveled to an island that is near that area. The rumors say that the head is still there. The girls obviously, because of their fanaticism, they want to go to that place even though one of the townspeople warns them that that place is supposedly cursed. Now they go to the place using small boats in which they must go in couple. They decide the positions through a game of rock, paper, scissors, and as a result, Igarashi ends up with Falls in the same boat. He takes the opportunity to apologize for having fallen on her the night before. In addition to a tender moment between the two when they suddenly talk briefly, a pleasant weather that had changed radically, a marine whirlpool appears that drags everyone's boats to the center, tipping over, causing them to fall into the water. The majority wake up, the island dragged by the tide, and Gashi is next to Shima and Shinamiya until he is finally found unconscious. Nanashima sees that he is not breathing because he surely has oxygen in his lungs, and Gashi has to give mouth breathing to Boka. Shima takes advantage of the moment to take multiple photos. Mutsumi is in sections of the Mutsumi group. When he wakes up and sees that he is unconscious, he thinks he should give him mouth breathing. But when they get closer, she spits out all the water. They try to meet up with the others, but for some strange reason, no matter how much they walk, They can't find the others even though they are screaming and they can hear each other. Kei loses consciousness due to a terrible fever. Mutsumi has no more. He had no choice but to take her to a small nearby shed that he found, where he took off her clothes so that they were no longer wet and dried them while he hugged her with a blanket that he found in the shed without any morbid purpose or anything else, but so that her fever would not increase and, rather, she actually recovered. Undressed and dressed her again with her eyes completely closed. Of course, once her clothes finally dried, on the other hand, the group met a man who took them to the same shed and everything was fine until that suddenly the man's face changed something much more demonic. Mutsumi, as they are chased by balls of blue fire that suddenly appeared, so they flee until they reach a small tomb where they see the spirit of Hakiyamura along with other ghosts. They define themselves by using the amulets they bought after leaving the ceremony until they are directly confronted with Haki-Samura. But our protagonist manages to soften the vengeful character by emphasizing that in this current era, he is known as a hero. Then, he disappears from the sight to act as a true hero. Finally, the group is found, and they flee in terror from the island, returning to the restaurant where they ate previously. The cook confesses to them that he had given them some poisonous mushrooms that caused serious hallucinations, giving us to understand that everything they saw was a product of their imagination. Although they are in the same cafeteria where they meet every day to chat and spend time together, Nanashima considers that things have changed. The others have had progress with Kei, unlike him, who feels that he is being left behind while he is taking care of his little sister. He thinks about everything that happened and wants to make an effort to like Kei. She thinks about all this while she plays, dances, and pays attention to her little sister, who loves a magical girls program called Pori Pori Moon. The next day, Shima is surpassed by Moon. He invites Kei to go out before him, but she rejects him since she is working on her days off. She needs money for future anime conventions, and she spent everything she had at the previous ones, a place where there is just a Pori Pori show. Moon the group, to spend more time with her, they also look for a job there, appearing for an interview in which they are immediately accepted, especially Nanashima, who knew the entire program because he always watched it with his little sister. An ideal way to get closer to Kei. They both have to practice their roles that they were assigned. Nanashima achieves his goal and is now the closest to her. One day, he wakes up with a cold, but he doesn't give it any importance and attends the training. But in the middle of rehearsal, he faints due to fever. He is taken home where he falls. He plans to take care of him so that he can recover. She gets better quickly. There she is interrogated by his little sister, who mistakes her for his girlfriend, something she immediately denies. Kei takes food to a sick Nanashima who is delirious from fever to such a point that at one point he grabs Kei to corner her, making her quite uncomfortable and even scaring her, followed by Igarashi, who wants to make sure that she is okay, but she rejects the contact and goes directly to her house. Gashi is angry and is going to confront and probably beat up Nanashima, but he pounces first to kiss him. He still slaps him to make him wake up, and when he is more lucid, he explains to him what happened. Nana feels guilty because he thought he had dreamed it. It was not his intention to scare Kei. Since then, he missed classes and training for the show Pori Pori Moon, worrying everyone, especially Nanashima, who was tempted to visit her to apologize for everything that happened, but she refuses to see him. She is still scared and affected by what happened between the two of them. She doesn't feel ready to see him, so Nanashima makes the decision to yell at him from his window, and he draws the attention of everyone in the place until Takuro, Kei's older brother, came out to throw salt at him in order to scare him away. Then Kei shows up at rehearsals until the day of the show arrives, where Kurari is there to see her brother. Falls, especially a group of quite perverted and intense fans, start bothering the girls. So Nanashima intervenes, and with the help of Falls, they can repel those annoying guys. Plus, she is right in the bond since Nana promises that she will never hurt her more. The show is a success. Nana had to be the replacement lasso of one of the dancers when she knows the choreography by heart, and that makes her little sister even happier. Falls regains her trust in him when she understands that his promise is honest. The group is taking advantage of the summer vacation to go to Shima's family's beach house. So they plan to use it as much as possible to enjoy themselves, although Nanashima is not entirely happy because the four of them will have to sleep in a room together, very far from Falls. Shinami is already in the bathroom looking in the mirror. He doesn't feel comfortable showing his pale and weak body to the others, since they are older than him. They are a little more robust. He hides his feelings and then goes with the other boys. The next day, they all go to the beach to have fun where they practice some surfing. Shinami tries to advance his relationship with Kei in different ways in order to get her attention. But he fails one after another, being very clumsy on several occasions compared to his rival's bar friends. Feeling quite frustrated when being insignificant when compared to them. The straw that broke the camel's back and instigated him to separate from the group is when they tried to protect Kei spills the plate where the food they were going to cook was, without realizing it, fled to the forest. So Kei, being worried, the others continue to bring him back too. But since while they were walking on a bridge it collapsed and they separated again. After scheduled to find a certain place, and he falls, he continues looking for Shinamiya. When he finds him, he helps him because he had been trapped by a vine. When it rains heavily, they take refuge in an abandoned building that was the meeting place where they would meet the others. Shinami already apologizes to Cae for being so clumsy, but their nice conversation is interrupted by a couple of boys who had previously tried to harass him. Shima and Kei had also received a warning from Agarshin Nanashima, even from Mutsumi. But the others intervene and beat them up. Afterwards, they all return home and Shinamiya again apologizes for the problems caused with a strong determination that, although not as strong as, they want to protect and take care of Kei, even though he is very clumsy. Mutsumi takes the group to search for a hidden treasure because he found a map in his club that apparently leads to one. So they all go mainly because they did not want to leave Mutsumi alone with Kei because they believe that he plans something when out of all of them he is the only one who treats Kei as he always has, something that Shima realizes. So now Angashi Nanashima as well as Shima and Shinamiya really is interested in her since from all of them it seems that he only sees her as a friend. Anyway, the group goes to where the treasure is, which is a cave. The boys are the first to enter and there, Igarashi asks Mutsumi if he is attracted to Kei. But before he answers, they are reached by the pair of girls. So they continue on their way. Mutsumi meditates on the question that was never questioned because he sees she falls like a sweet girl who is pleasant to spend time with. Suddenly they are attacked by some bats when disturbing the land with their presence. So they run away but in the process they are separated again. Mutsumi falls due to a trauma that Mutsumi has as a child who had been locked in a dark place. When they were left in the dark he was completely left to realize he only reacted when he falls illuminated him with a light and he spoke. He explains his trauma to what he falls into. She is very empathetic and kind to him so that he is not affected because he is still stunned and does not know very well what he feels for Kai. He has somewhat impulsive movements with her until they are found by the others who had found the treasure who were looking for what was in the damn treasure. It was nothing more than a piece of paper since that was a joke from someone else, specifically Mutsumi's older brother, the former president of the history club 3 years ago. Since they found the treasure, they have nothing more to do in that cave. So everyone goes to their respective homes. The next day of school, there is a new teacher called Keiga Mutsumi, Asuma's older brother, when Mutsumi's friends are in the cafeteria. They question him about his older brother who just after appears to introduce himself to his friends, especially having an interest in Kei. But as soon as he went to touch her, Mutsumi reacted somewhat angrily, which was very strange for Keigam. Shortly after, Keigam gained popularity with the girls. And on top of that with the boys too, since he got along well with both of them. One day after he leaves the cinema he meets our protagonist whom he invites to lunch to have a brief talk where they talk about Mutsumi. Then when he returns home he talks to Mutsumi about how she ate with Kei, emphasizing that she is undoubtedly very pretty and would have liked to have a koa. And so at the time, when Kazuma discovered that Cae is an otaku, so to get a little closer, he gave her a model of his favorite character that she had saved something that was in the history club. She was organizing a box just when he arrived. Obviously she was totally fascinated, and when she made her shoulders with movements she hit the shelf where the box was, causing it to fall on her, but her teacher reacted in time to move it away, remaining extremely close. Something terrifying falls just as Mutsumi arrives, and with one blow, he pushes his brother away from the protagonist and emphasizes that he is not the right person to mess with a student who is also his girlfriend. The others who were listening immediately entered the room. Upon hearing such a lie, but soon everything is clarified, realizing that it was simply a lie from Mutsumi in order to protect Sae from the flirtatious charms of the teacher, or rather practitioner. So he admits that he also wants to join Sae's suitor since he likes her. In a somewhat serious way, with the exception of Mutsumi, they do everything possible to repel Kazuma, but they are defeated little by little. They fall like flies before him, who is very good at his flirting strategies or something else, so they decide to leave things in Mutsumi's hands. Since he is his younger brother, he tries to talk to Kazuma so that he stops bothering Kei. But he insists that what he feels for her is something serious. He takes advantage of the fact that Mutsumi is careless to lock him in the locker and leave as if nothing had happened yet. Knowing her trauma is quickly brought out by the others, who look worried about what just happened, but Mutsumi doesn't take much importance and rather concentrates on thinking about what she should do, since her brother explicitly said that he is serious but he should leave her. Do what he wants. He has always tried to make his brother happy by giving him and sharing what he has. They have a nice brotherly relationship, but he really doesn't want him to have false Igarashi Nanashima. They plan to avoid any contact between the professor and the protagonist until the end of the year trial period that he has more. That day suddenly Kazuma uses the speakers to publicly challenge his little brother to a war between castles, a card game of Japanese civil wars. Mutsumi is going to defend him because he doesn't understand anything about the situation there. Kazuma confesses he has noticed that this time it seems that he does not agree to let him do what he wants, so he will give him a chance so that he can stop him, or if he does not plan to continue with his goal, then both brothers face each other in a card battle where, although it seemed that he was going to lose, Mutsumi manages to turn the tables and wins the game, emphasizing to his brother that he was not planning to give him what he wanted this time. Everyone else is relieved because they know that now they no longer have Kazuma as a rival. But they did not expect that spontaneously Mutsumi confessed to Kei. Thanks to his older brother, he realized that he was in love with Kei, who did not hear well what Mutsumi said, but before he repeats it he is dragged by the others to another place to confront him about that topic after he had all said that he did not understand those things. With his calmness he confirms to them that he is in love with her and plans to tell her what he feels, that they should also tell him the same thing, but instead of doing that they only use tricks to avoid them. That Mutsumi has any contact with Kei. Mutsumi applies that if his older brother uses the speakers to be able to communicate with her and ask her to meet on the roof. Before that again the others try to prevent the meeting, but Mutsumi confronts them, emphasizes types of things in case they wanted to confess to Sae what they should have done before and not waste time. So everyone meets on the roof, and when the protagonist arrives, without further ado they confess the feelings they have for her and ask her to go out if they reciprocate, but they also emphasize that they do not need an immediate response. They just wanted her to be aware of that. Given that news, she visits her best friend to explain the whole situation and ask for advice. So talk a little about them, because Kei never really saw them in a romantic way but mostly as possible chips. Her friend adds that such a situation is very similar to an otome game, believing that the best thing is to choose all the routes as if they were an otome game. She brings them all together again and asks them all to go out with she next week so she can give them an appropriate response. With everyone she has a separate date and in solitude, enjoying the company and other things that each one offers her, but she realizes the qualities that stand out in all of them in a certain way. I believe that they all, she may like them, but she doesn't know how to decipher what is the special feeling that will define the one she really likes, or at least that's what she thought until she understands it. She knows who she likes. Again she quotes them again to finally be able to give them an answer. She loves being with them, but she really the only person who owns her heart is she, and for Mirage, and she flees the place before they can say anything to her, leaving everyone astonished and nothing. Just that. If you liked it, subscribe to support the channel and comment on the word Fuyoshi to show that you stayed until the end, since not many people usually do it.